Hey everybody, this is a spoiler review on the new horror movie Hereditary. So if you haven't seen that movie, go to the cinema right now, watch it, come back to us, and then listen to this, because this is anything you'll ever need to hear. I'm here with my girlfriend, and we're just going to talk about our differentiating views on it, because we have very different opinions about this movie.
Yes, we do.
I'm going to start off with just kind of giving my synopsis on the story and what I pretty much think happened, because it's not too clear throughout this movie.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
I think it leaves a lot of it open to interpretation. So I'm going to start off, again, spoilers here, but I'm going to start off with, so I think what began this is the grandmother worshipped the god of hell.
Well, we don't know that.
No, it straight up said that.
Oh.
She worshipped the god of hell and was trying to bring him back to life. I don't remember his name, but she... Charlie...
Started with a P. Pan something.
Yeah, some with a P. Not Pan. But that's a different god. But Charlie, the little girl, was apparently the reborn god of hell. And that's why the grandmother wanted to spend so much time with her and take care of her. And then the god of hell, we read in the book throughout the story that the god of hell wanted to be a boy. And it preferred being a boy. And the conjurer of the god would get a lot of money, or rewarded. I guess it didn't say money. So the grandmother died, and she had to get her other followers to take her place and finish what was started. So Charlie was the god of hell, and then she was driving down the road. She obviously, Peter was driving her down the road, and she got killed, hit her head, and came straight off. And then what I think has happened is the god of hell took control of the mom after she lost control of everything. So she went crazy and started trying to kill everyone. So the mother first killed the father. She burned him.
We need to reiterate, the mother was already crazy making these little doll houses of like her grandmother's, I guess her mother's boobs hanging out, and her mother like watching them when they sleep. So obviously, she was already messed up. But that's beside the point.
My grandmother did that. So the mother started off by killing the father. She took Charlie's book that was linked to Charlie and apparently her and threw it in the fire, and that killed the father for some reason. And then it went after Peter, and Peter in school started hitting his head, and I think that was the spirit taking revenge on Peter because he kind of killed him in the first place. So the mother killed herself in the end, which transferred the demon to Peter after he jumped out the window. And then Peter was Charlie in the end when he walked up, and he didn't really know what was going on because he was Charlie, but everyone was worshiping him, and that's how it ends. So that was the main gist of the story. Now I want to jump into some of the points throughout the story that kind of are an iffy ground, or we're not really sure, or just cool points that we want to bring up. So the first thing I want to bring up is the mother burning the father, because it kind of, I don't know if they meant to do this, but it kind of hints that how it happened in the movie might not have actually happened. There's a scene early on in the movie where the father stops everyone and is like, alright, everybody take off your shoes. He's strict about them not wearing shoes in the house. But then when the mother is trying to kill him, he's wearing his shoes and he's been all over the house. And I feel like that's a hint that might not have actually been his personality.
But what do you think? Because Peter saw him dead and burnt too whenever he came
Well, I think
down.
he did get burned. I think it showed him early in the movie that he was taking too many sleeping pills, and I think the wife might have been sleepwalking because they had already mentioned she's had problems almost burning people while sleepwalking. And
yeah,
I think
she almost burnt her 2 kids with paint thinner.
Yeah.
Hint.
So I think in the movie, all the furniture's pushed out of the way, and I think she would have done that and taken him and burned him alive while sleepwalking. And I think she imagines it a different way, but I think that's what actually happened. There's also another point moving on. Or did you want to say anything about that?
Oh no, just that it probably came up because she was like trying to burn the book with the paint thinner, throwing it in the fire. So, and the last time she used paint thinner was whenever she was sleepwalking, so that probably connects.
There's also just another cool point I want to point out that I thought was kind of interesting was when Peter was being attacked in the school, the teacher was actually talking about Agamemnon, and he was talking about how Agamemnon's life was all about revenge and fighting for revenge, which is kind of what Charlie was doing to Peter, was taking revenge on him for killing her.
And another weird thing that I'm just gonna go out and say it. I did not like this movie. It was not a movie for me. I'm not the little artsy horror movie. I like, the boo
Cliche movies.
Yeah, the normal, the typical horror movies. I will say that. But like when Peter was driving and hit his sister's head on a pole and caused it to rip off of her body, he just kept driving. And that really made me mad because even though he might be in shock, it was still just a really weird thing because you'd think that they'd be flipping out and he'd be like, panicking or calling 911 or trying to get anyone or anything to help. And then no, he just pulls it up to the house and he parks it and he gets up and waits for the moms to see it. And I just think that's really weird.
I think in his defense, there's not many people out there that can actually know how they'd react when they killed their sibling.
Well, I would hope not.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I think that could have been a real reaction where he was just in shock and didn't know what was going on, but I can see where the views kind of differ there. And I also think she's 13 years old. I think one problem could have been that she should have known what to do if she was eating nuts. Like, she knew not to eat nuts, but that's just a little side tangent.
She's so weird. But I think that was the point.
Yeah, I think, well, apparently she was a god of hell, so.
So, yeah. It makes sense.
Alright, moving on to another point I want to bring up. I think the connected symptoms of death and, I guess really the connected symptoms through heads and stuff were, in the beginning of the movie, Charlotte cut off a bird's head, and then, of course, her head got cut off, and the grandmother's head got cut off, and the mom's head got cut off.
Also, with the toys she was making, they all had, like, different heads and different mismatched bodies, and in the end her head was put on a mannequin with a weird little halo around it. So
yeah, in the beginning she made basically a shrine out of toys and a bird's head, and then in the end her head was a shrine on top of a man-made human. And she started choking, and at one point Peter was smoking weed and started choking, and that's kind of correlation. And then
that's why Peter was rushing to the hospital, because she was choking after eating nuts at the hospital. I mean, at the party.
Yes, after he nuts at the hospital.
That's what I said.
So, and also, on her head on the road was being eaten by ants, and then the mom has
gross.
A dream of
Most
Peter
disturbing.
being eaten by the ants.
That was hands down the most disturbing scene that was in that entire movie.
So that's just a few points I wanted to bring up that I didn't quite know what to make of.
I just didn't know what to make of the whole entire movie.
Another thing, just about the protagonist in general, about the mom and the brother and the dad, none of them are really... All of them made a mistake that they won't atone for, they won't admit, they won't say I'm sorry, they don't do anything to try to rectify what they've done. So I think that doesn't necessarily make them good people. Of course, they don't deserve what happened, but I think that's a strong point in horror movies in general, is to have a protagonist who doesn't necessarily... He's not necessarily a good person. He might have done something wrong where you can see why this is happening.
But the dad was so cute. He was such a cute little old man. He didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
I liked him. Favorite character of the movie.
There's also one last thing that I didn't quite understand. Was I know the words are being written around the house, and I guess that's the god of hell's way of writing them around, and then Joan,
I think is how she was introduced.
Joan, the mom's friend that she met at reunion, who was actually a follower of the grandmother trying to bring back the god of hell. She started shouting them at Peter when he was in the courtyard.
I think that's what made him susceptible to the demon to start messing with him in the classroom.
Yeah, I think those might have been the words that the mom had to say at the seance or something. Maybe that's like
probably.
an invitation or
For the demon to come or whatever.
That could be how it gets done. But yeah, that's kind of... Do you want to add anything else to those points? We can give our conclusions after that.
Basically, well, this is kind of a conclusion. Can I go ahead and start?
Yeah, you can start your conclusion, then I'll give mine.
If you don't like having to overthink every single thing that happens in a movie, then this is not for you. I'm one of the people that, sit down in the theater, watch a movie, and you don't have to think about it. You're just entertained the whole time, and put some good scary music in there, and a couple little boos and jumps, and that's good. That's good for me. And I will say, like, I liked Get Out, and that was an artsy little horror film, but this movie just wasn't for me. I mean, as you can tell, this explanatory video, you have to think about it a lot, and you just have to contemplate what you think everything means. And if you're not one of those people that likes to get super duper into it, then this might not be the right movie for you. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not a huge fan.
What's your rating on it? What do you give it?
I give it out of what?
Out of 10, 5 being a completely average movie.
If 5 is an average, then I definitely say 4, just because it did keep me entertained, but not the good kind. Like, the whole entire time I was like, I don't know what's going on, and I was just confused. So I'd give it a solid 4.
Okay. For me personally, I really like this movie. Actually, I think it was a unique horror movie that we don't get a lot of nowadays. I think a lot of horror movies rely on the cliche of it's a loud noise, so you jump. It's not actually being scared.
Those are the best.
But I think this movie had a lot of things I like in it. I already mentioned the protagonists being not perfect people, which kind of, I don't know, I feel like that's a baseline for horror movies. I know that not everyone will think that. I think it's a really confusing movie that causes you to think. And I think a lot of problems horror movies have is once you understand everything that's going on and once it explains it, it becomes not scary. Like, whatever monster gets shown, the monster becomes not scary after you see it. And this movie doesn't ever have that problem. I always felt really uncomfortable during the movie. I didn't really have any moments where I jumped or was scared, but
Kept you on your toes.
it was really intense. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I mean, I was unsettled the whole time. I think it was a really good horror movie. And out of a 5 being average, I'd probably give it like 8.5
Oh
or
my
9 out of
gosh.
10 for a horror movie. I mean, it's one of the best horror movies I've seen.
I will say the acting was very, very good. No,
Oh, yeah.
I will say that.
Alex Wolff, way better in this than in Jumanji. Just gotta say, big step for him. Good job, Alex Wolff.
And with that, I think we're gonna end it.
I hope you enjoyed, and I'd like to hear what y'all have to say. Comment down below.